Distinguished entrepreneurs present here today and all honored guests, a very good morning to each and every one of you. I am your host for this wonderful occasion. Welcome and thank you for coming today. We are here to share and learn together from the spiritual wealth of Khenpo Sodargye. First and foremost, please allow me, on behalf of today's esteemed organizers, the Chongqing Alumni Association of Renmin University of China, to extend a truly heartfelt and warm welcome to each and every one of you. Welcome. It is truly a rare and wonderful opportunity for all the entrepreneurs present here to take time out of your busy work schedules. Today, you are all here, taking the time to sit down, calm your minds, and join us in listening and learning together. I believe that most of the guests present today are elites from various industries and leaders of their respective enterprises. We have all experienced or are currently experiencing the growth, development, and transformation of our businesses. At the very beginning of our entrepreneurial journey, our goal was simply to provide for our own families. Later on, we sought to take care of the entrepreneurial partners who have weathered the storms with us. Later still, our goal became to maintain order within our industry and to ensure the continued momentum of our company's development. That is why we have always been running at full throttle, always moving forward. During the process of business development, it is inevitable that we sometimes feel lost or uncertain and may even lose sight of our direction. Today, societal changes happen in the blink of an eye. So for our enterprises today, beyond the immediate and pressing need to compete and simply survive, where does our true, inherent, and profound value truly and ultimately lie? What then is our social responsibility? The empire we have built with our own hands? What does the future hold for it? How should we adjust our mindset and prepare ourselves to start anew? I believe that the answers to all these questions today, after the profound sharing from our Khenpo, he will provide us with more or less some valuable inspiration. Today is a truly precious opportunity. I believe that all the distinguished guests present here today are also truly blessed individuals, because today we will have the chance to meet Khenpo Sodargye. So first, please allow me to give a brief introduction of him. Khenpo Sodargye comes from the snowy plateau of Tibet. He is a great Khenpo at the renowned Larungar Buddhist Academy in China. At the same time, he is also an extraordinary scholar. He has profound knowledge in the study of Tibetan Buddhism. In order to help more people access and understand the essence of traditional culture, he tries to convey traditional culture in ways that modern people can understand. He communicates traditional culture in this manner. During more than 30 years of study and practice, he has spent a great deal of time translating texts between Chinese and Tibetan. Many of these manuscripts have already been published as books. In addition, Khenpo Sodargye is also a renowned philanthropist. His impactful Initiate Kindness campaign calls on people from all walks of society to help those around them who are in need. He himself has also successively donated to build schools and nursing homes, helped impoverished people find employment, and organized a series of charitable acts such as disaster relief. He has always helped and cared for those in need around him. Over the years, Khenpo Sodargye has visited many countries, giving lectures and engaging in exchanges. He has spoken at world-renowned universities such as Harvard and Columbia, as well as prestigious Chinese universities like Peking and Tsinghua. He enjoys a high reputation and influence. In recent years, he has participated in numerous forums and conferences. He communicates with scholars, keeping in close contact and dialogue with them. The topics they discuss include interdisciplinary religion, morality, environmental protection, peace, and other issues. So today we are truly and deeply honored to have you here, that our Khenpo has taken time out of his busy schedule to come to Chongqing to be here with us today. Next, let us all together give our warmest and most heartfelt applause to welcome Khenpo Sodargye to the stage. Please welcome him.
First of all, I would like to sincerely thank the wonderful and dedicated organizers of this important event for graciously inviting me here today to communicate and share valuable insights with all of you. It is truly a privilege to be present. Because of this remarkable opportunity, many profoundly positive and wonderfully impactful connections have already been made and fostered. I just arrived late last night after a long journey and will be departing quite early tomorrow morning, as in at the break of dawn. Well, perhaps it's not just a simple departure, right? So, within such an incredibly brief and limited period of time, to have had this truly meaningful and enriching kind of interaction or profound learning experience with absolutely everyone present, it's quite remarkable. It's truly a very rare and indeed unique opportunity. The significant and highly relevant topic of our discussion today is indeed the social responsibility and future path of entrepreneurs. I genuinely believe it's an exceptionally well-chosen and profoundly important topic that they have thoughtfully selected. It is undoubtedly something that everyone is probably very deeply concerned about and keenly interested in. And it's a profoundly important and significant subject. I must admit that I am neither a seasoned entrepreneur, nor can I truly speak at great length about the intricate nuances of social responsibility. And furthermore, I am certainly not a prophet either. So when it comes to the future path, I may not be able to offer any particularly clear, precise, or definitive direction at this moment. However, I have certainly met some people and indeed been to some places and have also reflected on certain situations in today's society. In today's society, our entrepreneurs are greatly admired by everyone, but also highly controversial. When we were much younger, there was basically no such a thing as entrepreneurship or being an entrepreneur in common parlance. Because the idea of the enterprise actually originated in Europe, then gradually spread to the United States, and ultimately later to China as well. Its terminology and some of its management methods first originally came from the continents of Europe and America. So in this particular context, it is important to note that in our current era, whether we are referring to the so-called enterprise sector or individual entrepreneurs, they have already become a profoundly important and integral part of the fabric of society. They inherently bear, or at the very least should conscientiously bear, significant responsibilities towards the broader society and its well-being. Or in other words, they effectively hold a significant amount of valuable resources. In the very beginning, I think everyone here should be aware that the so-called entrepreneur was only responsible for maybe just making money for themselves and having a platform to earn more or less profit. That's how it started. For many people, when they talked about entrepreneurs, they would often think to themselves, if I were to start such a business venture, how much substantial profit and personal wealth could I realistically gain from it? That, indeed, was their primary goal. People also believed that if someone were to become an entrepreneur, it was widely believed they must inherently be quite wealthy. All the accumulated wealth and financial resources would be personally and exclusively owned by them. Precisely because of this, I once read about a prominent American economist from the past, a truly influential figure, who also notably won the highly prestigious Nobel Prize in economics. He clearly said that as for modern enterprises, operating within the legal boundaries of the law, they essentially rely on various resources to earn their own rightful profits. That was his evaluation of enterprises. As long as it is not against the law or illegal, making more or less profit for oneself, that is precisely what defines an enterprise. He also notably won the prestigious Nobel Prize in economics. So at this particular point in time, we can clearly see that in the 1970s and 1980s of the last century, at that time it was evident that so-called entrepreneurs, whether operating in the West or in the East, everyone universally believed that their primary responsibility was simply not to break the law and that they should possess a certain significant amount of resources, as long as they could effectively make money by relying on those resources. In other words, to generate significant profit, that was considered the primary value and ultimate goal of an entrepreneur, the very fundamental reason for their continued existence. But as society has significantly changed and evolved, or rather as the economy has developed, in the contemporary world, when it comes to the topic of entrepreneurs, people may no longer perceive them in the same traditional way. Entrepreneurs themselves, those dedicated individuals, also profoundly feel that they bear many significant responsibilities. Indeed, there's a well-known saying that we often hear and refer to, the greater the ability, the heavier the responsibility. And with greater responsibility comes even more pressure. That's how the saying goes. So for many modern entrepreneurs today, what they truly bear is definitely not just individual personal wealth. They are deeply responsible for their own families, all their hardworking employees, the entire business group, and even for the broader society as a whole, as well as the future prospects and the very destinies of many people. All the significant social responsibilities in this lifetime, they are already shouldering such a truly tremendous responsibility. Moreover, when it comes to so-called entrepreneurs, the level of public attention is quite different from before. So, how exactly are entrepreneurs viewed now? There are all kinds of diverse and varied opinions prevalent throughout society. And what exactly is the fundamental reason for this widespread phenomenon? Because nowadays, globally speaking, entrepreneurs do indeed possess a remarkably significant amount of wealth. If we look at the world as a whole, the overall wealth collectively shared by people is actually fundamentally limited. But some prominent entrepreneurs do indeed. According to what Buddhism says, this may be due to the blessings accumulated in their past lives. They possess a very considerable portion of the entire world's wealth and resources. If we carefully examine this from the comprehensive perspective of Western management studies, what exactly is it that these individuals truly possess? Relying entirely on their own diligent hard work and persistent effort, they effectively control a remarkably significant amount of valuable resources. Since they possess so many resources, many people unfortunately lack this crucial ability and this inherent power. At this very point in time, some individuals genuinely rejoice, while others inevitably feel quite jealous. Some feel deeply envious, and some harbor a profound sense of resentment. People's overall evaluations of entrepreneurs also vary from person to person and come in all forms. What is the reason for this? Every single one of us in this world truly desires to obtain significant wealth in this lifetime and to achieve financial prosperity. In the process of everyone seeking it, some people can easily become quite rich in a very short period of time, a remarkably brief duration, achieve success and become famous. When there is significant success and widespread fame, naturally, you also gain considerable respect from society and its members, as well as a higher status, and resources from all directions come pouring in. At this point, the way people truly evaluate you is also completely and entirely different indeed. So now, in our entire global society, whether in the East or the West, entrepreneurs have already become a very significant and truly massive, integral, and absolutely essential part of society's fundamental structure. At this time, the responsibilities of entrepreneurs are also completely different from before. What are the responsibilities of entrepreneurs? I think there are many levels to being an entrepreneur. Many young people want to become successful entrepreneurs, but it's really not that easy at all. Running a business is also extremely tough and challenging, especially in today's competitive era, whether it's in the realm of manufacturing, the intricate world of finance, or the rapidly evolving information industry. It is evident that in many of these diverse fields now, precisely because the times are undergoing such swift and profound transformations, many people often feel quite insecure. Today, you might find yourself in the spotlight, perhaps even unexpectedly. This morning, I personally saw here in the bustling city of Chongqing someone who used to be the richest person here, who had all kinds of valuable resources readily at their disposal and were able to utilize them effectively. But now, in this very moment, they might be facing some truly significant and potentially very troublesome crises. So, in our current era, while things may appear superficially good and prosperous on the surface, in reality, the immense and weighty responsibilities they bear are far more substantial than what is immediately visible. They come in many different forms. At this particular point in time, the responsibilities that they shoulder are quite different. That's how I see it. If it's just an ordinary, typical company, the responsibility that they bear is solely and exclusively their own and nothing more than that, whether it's the chairman themselves or the boss who personally owns a certain amount of wealth. Then that's all the responsibility that they actually bear. At most, it only extends to their immediate family and very closest friends and acquaintances, who also have a certain level of wealth in various aspects. For a mid-level experienced entrepreneur, what kind of responsibility do they bear? All the various employees he actually has, their entire dedicated team. And if these individuals enjoy a certain significant amount of personal wealth, then that's what makes a mid-level entrepreneur. But a truly top-level and highly accomplished entrepreneur, their comprehensive business involves not just themselves, their dedicated employees, and their immediate family, but what is profoundly involved is the entire interconnected If you put it broadly, all of humanity. If you put it more narrowly, it's still very much related to the happiness and the interests of a significant portion of humanity. So when running a business, first and foremost, it is essential to consider, many of us have the habit of thinking, as long as I make a lot of money, as long as it's centered around me, that's enough. But in reality, that might not always be the very best approach. I haven't done it myself, but from another perspective, perhaps when we first embark on our journey, it's not just about our individual selves. Instead, it should fundamentally be about wanting to actively contribute to the betterment of society and a genuine desire to extend assistance and support to those who are truly disadvantaged and in need. If you approach things with this kind of mindset, there might actually be a significant amount of room for future growth. There's a saying, what the heart truly desires will indeed eventually come true. If you never think about other social responsibilities in your heart and always only think about yourself, if your mind is always focused on getting rich yourself, maybe you will get rich, but whether it has any real meaning is hard to say. If you sincerely want to meaningfully change the lives of those individuals around you, or effectively change the lives of your own employees, all various aspects of their entire lives, and you do things with this kind of purpose, then I truly believe that what the heart deeply desires will ultimately come true. In Buddhism, we have a saying, the greater the vow, the greater the power. Whatever kind of vow you make, that determines the kind of ability you will have. Personally, I don't have great abilities, but I used to really, truly want to build a primary school in my hometown. Later on, in all sorts of different ways, when I first started, there wasn't much money at all, but as I diligently kept working on it and continued to progress, some resources just started to come in. And then later I thought, maybe I was being a bit greedy, but I really wanted to build a middle school too. Then as I kept working on it, the right conditions just seemed to come together. Sometimes when I look at the people around us, there aren't really places for them to learn technical skills. So I really wanted to set up some technical colleges. And again, a lot of opportunities just came along. So as entrepreneurs, our primary and most important goal should be set on what Buddhism profoundly calls all sentient beings, or in other words, on other people. If you do that, perhaps your own personal pressure will be significantly reduced on one hand, allowing for a much more manageable and comfortable experience. And on the other hand, our society will naturally come to fully recognize and appreciate you. There used to be a particular company in the United States, a well-known enterprise that specialized exclusively in selling eyeglasses and optical products. At the time, they actually didn't have much money themselves, but they made a solemn vow when they observed that many people residing in rural India simply couldn't afford essential glasses. So, within their company, they were determined to find a solution. They decided that for every pair of glasses sold, they would give away another pair. Buy one, give one, something like that. Later, this business model gained a lot of recognition. People realized that while the profit from selling glasses didn't decrease, this kind act provided valuable resources to impoverished areas. If there are good resources available, many people are willing to participate. Later, their business was also able to sustain itself completely. And through this particular kind of connection, at that specific time, many impoverished areas in India were able to provide glasses to people who couldn't afford them. I think when it comes to these things, what seems like a very, very small action indeed, maybe among us here. I've heard there are many chairmen of listed companies present, and for many people, such a small thing might already exist in society. And some might think that way, but in reality, that's not the case. Some things may seem very small to us and may sound insignificant, but in reality, this kind of action invisibly creates a truly special and profound atmosphere within society. It actively fosters a truly unique and supportive environment. In the teachings of Buddhism, we call this fundamental principle, doing good deeds inevitably brings good results and positive outcomes. If one practices such virtuous deeds, they will naturally and inevitably receive some truly good outcomes and significant merit. I saw something quite interesting and noteworthy. This was also just a few years ago. There was a place in Shandong. There was someone there. I think they also ran a business. But it was a relatively small family business. Later on, what exactly did they begin to notice? Many rural women had to take care of the elderly and look after the children, and also had to work in the fields doing demanding farm work. They had no real opportunity to go out and get a job. They just didn't have that chance. But they had very little money indeed. So, a little later, they came up with a truly clever and innovative idea. Their own business might lose money. But no matter what, they were deeply committed to providing these rural women with a valuable opportunity to engage in meaningful work. Therefore, they carefully arranged a variety of suitable tasks for them to undertake. They provided some conveniences in this regard. Later, many women in the local rural area had jobs because of this. Because of this reason, this business gained a certain significant level of recognition within society. Because of this valuable social recognition later on, whether locally within the community or in many different aspects and areas, and in terms of public reputation, their entire business model was completely different. So I was truly thinking, whether it was during the significant Industrial Revolution or indeed in the last century, when we thoughtfully talked about so-called entrepreneurs, it was more of a deeply personal and individual thing, driven by a passion full of individualism. In other words, a platform for individuals to genuinely make money. But today, it's not just about personal benefit alone, indeed. More importantly, there must be a sense of responsibility to serve the whole society. When it comes to serving society as a whole, then it depends on how much of society can be served. Of course, from the perspective of causes and conditions in Buddhism, some people may really want to do things that serve others, but the resources and conditions are never quite in place, and there may be a few rare cases like this. But generally speaking, indeed, first and foremost, the fundamental aspiration or strategic positioning of our entire enterprise is extremely important. In addition to that, how we effectively allocate the valuable resources we currently have at our disposal, the proper allocation of essential resources, is now a matter of very great concern globally. If we do not adequately allocate these resources, and due to various causes and conditions, we occupy a lot of resources ourselves, but we are unable to enjoy these resources ourselves, and do not share them with those around us, then at a certain point, these resources cannot stay in your hands forever. They will inevitably be lost. This is a law of causes and conditions. There is a principle. What is it called? A glass of water. If it's a glass of water, you alone can drink it and completely quench your thirst. A bucket of water can be drunk by your whole family, and your whole family can quench their thirst. Then a river. If it's a river, it's best for many people to drink from it. If not many people are actively drinking from it, and you happen to occupy the entire river all by yourself, then it's okay. But many people around you are extremely thirsty. Then, at a certain point, you will not be able to possess the river by yourself. If you find a way to share the river with others and let the people around you drink from it, then you yourself will also drink well, and the people around you will have their thirst quenched. This is a very good metaphor. So I think when it comes to the whole world right now, in fact, most of the available resources are currently in the hands of a very small number of people. Of course, there are many different opinions about these statistics, but looking at the world as a whole, most of the resources are now controlled by a very small number of people, especially now, in this era of the internet and information. In the era of the internet and information, some people, due to various circumstances, make a substantial amount of money in a very short period of time. While for others, no matter how hard they try, they may unfortunately end up completely penniless, getting progressively poorer and poorer, which is indeed very troubling for their future. But when making a lot of money, what kind of profound responsibility does each of us truly have? Or what kind of noble intention should each of us genuinely possess? We should never, ever think this particular thing is exclusively mine, or it's my ability, my luck. We shouldn't think this way. The wealth I possess should be considered given to me by society. Now, I truly believe that I should learn to give back to society in a meaningful way, whether it's through engaging in current public welfare initiatives and charitable endeavors, or by participating in targeted poverty alleviation programs, or by widely practicing generosity and benevolence in various other impactful ways, or by providing convenient and accessible methods to everyone, of course, when we give to others. I don't actually suggest that you necessarily have to give money at all. It's not about promoting yourself while giving money at the same time. That's not the way. When we give to others, we should let others learn so that they can gradually change their destiny and change the vicious cycles in society. This is extremely important to recognize. So the first major thing I want to address here is that now, from a comprehensive global perspective, our current enterprises, it is absolutely essential to truly have an altruistic mindset. If your fundamental intentions are not genuinely good, or if you are exclusively and solely focused on your own personal gain, driven by excessively self-inflating desires and ambitions, then a business that is run in this particular way may not have a very long lifespan at all. This is truly the fundamental law of cause and effect. Even if its life is quite long, its very existence in this vast and intricate world is not particularly valuable or significant. Why is that the case? Because even if your immediate family or you yourself live a life filled with profound happiness, and no matter how much material wealth you manage to possess in terms of the entire immense world, this is not necessarily a good thing. There are only a few extremely wealthy individuals in our world, and if they possess all of the wealth and resources, the rest of us might just think, so what? Moreover, if we rely on material things to obtain all our happiness, this is also very limited, because our happiness is not simply solved by having money and thinking all happiness is achieved. It's not like that. When you don't have money, you might think that once you have money, everything will be great. But when you actually have that accumulated wealth, the benefits you gain from it may not be as you originally imagined, because human needs are inherently layered and complex in their fundamental nature. So what are these layers? For example, a person, if he is locked up for 5 or 6 days without food or water, when he is first and foremost released, his first basic need is for food, warmth, and also essential material wealth. Then after some time, your pursuits are still primarily about satisfying basic physical hunger and thirst. If there is absolutely nothing higher than this, then a person's value hasn't really improved. At that time, people truly need the fundamental basic conditions for survival. On this foundation, what else do we need? We truly need art. We certainly need culture. We also need religion and other truly higher things that transcend many of the ordinary common values of humanity. So what exactly am I thinking and trying to convey here? The goals and aspirations we pursue should ideally be in fields and realms that are inherently higher and more profound than just accumulating money and material things, in much more noble and significant areas. I think it was Zheng Guofan in the past who said, "If one does not strive to be a sage, one becomes like a beast." This is a very unfortunate thing. What he meant was that, logically speaking, people should pursue the path of sages and worthies to seek the highest spiritual joys that transcend humanity, the most noble kind of happiness, and we shouldn't pursue the path of beasts and animals. There are two paths for people. One is the path of sages, and the other is the path of animals. As for animals, they also have sensory satisfaction and the pleasure of eating and drinking. But for us humans, that alone is certainly not enough. If just having these things could truly solve all of our problems, if that were the case, then human culture as a whole would not have advanced in any meaningful way. So this is the truly unique and defining distinction of humanity. That's precisely what I wanted to convey. Our fundamental and primary responsibility should be toward the betterment of society. We ought to genuinely help those people who are truly in need of help. This is basically one of the important social values of a business. But what's even more important? It's the ongoing pursuit, including for your valued employees, essential shareholders, and indeed everyone else involved, of both significant material prosperity and profound spiritual fulfillment. At the very same time, we should make significant contributions to human society that we truly ought to. This is indeed the fundamental and true value of our entire enterprise. As a business entity, there is something else of great importance as well. We should always have a strong and positive bottom line. What kind of bottom line? First and foremost, we must conscientiously ensure that we do not excessively damage or harm the delicate natural environment. Regrettably, in this modern era, it is often observed that entrepreneurs, in their pursuit of immediate and temporary benefits for themselves, exploit various valuable minerals and extensively destroy precious natural resources. Many of these actions are truly alarming. Precisely because of this, our entire natural environment is now in a particularly poor state. the environment is very harsh, whether it's truly the very air that we all breathe or even the water that we drink, all of these things can potentially have certain harmful effects. What is the reason for this? Actually, the reason we excessively harm the natural world, now our respiratory organs are frequently affected even more severely. And actually, the entire local community, especially during the industrial process of running factories, a lot of harmful chemical toxins are widely dispersed in the surrounding air. As a result, many people have developed lung diseases and cancer, especially in China nowadays. Cancer is the most terrifying killer, the number one killer. According to some of the most recent statistics available now, one United Nations statistic says that about 20,000 people die from lung diseases every day. Among these lung diseases, generally out of every 4 people, one person's illness is related to the outside air and environment. So this is also connected to our current excessive development and the extensive over-destruction of our natural environment. Therefore, as entrepreneurs, we should, in our own work, no matter what kind of manufacturing industry we are in during the process, always keep in mind the true home of humanity. If you, because of your own greed and your various important goals and aspirations, if you excessively and severely damage our precious natural environment, in the end, there will inevitably be a significant and unavoidable price to pay, a consequence that will impact everyone. Also, whatever actions we undertake, we must not just go against our own conscience and do things that harm the human body. Now, many medical experts and many people have discovered that there are a considerable amount of plastic particles found in human feces. Why exactly is that? We humans certainly do not consume them. Some people now believe that it might potentially be from the very food we consume, including certain types of fish and various seafood, for example, which may very well be due to significant plastic pollution in the vast oceans and pollution of our water. That's the reason. It's possible that there is a lot of plastic in the bodies of fish, and over time, this plastic gradually breaks down into particles. Moreover, some of these plastic particles, when professional chemists conduct detailed experiments, are found to be made from more than a dozen different chemical raw materials. Now, more and more of these microscopic particles are being found in the human body. This may also be a direct result of some of the industrial things we've done just to satisfy our temporary cravings or to serve our own interests, whether in our food processing or due to various significant reasons like widespread environmental destruction, many of the essential foods humans consume are becoming increasingly unsafe. Nowadays, we often question whether it's the very water we drink or any type of food we eat, from fresh produce to processed goods. Everyone feels anxious and uneasy. Maybe it's because the media is especially developed now, and people, it seems, tend to like to talk about negative things in general, because these easily catch our attention and capture people's hearts. That's the reason. Perhaps it's because various forms of media often promote negative topics and issues. Maybe that's the reason. But perhaps nowadays, for our own immediate interests and rapid development, we have regrettably destroyed many valuable natural resources and significantly damaged much of the delicate natural environment. This includes many things that people used to be able to easily find and consume, have now unfortunately become extremely hazardous items and objects. This is also something we should pay attention to. Another point is that in the process of running a business, we must always respect all forms of life. Because no matter what the situation, according to the widely held views and profound ideas of many individuals, including various animals, people genuinely believe they can truly enjoy them all without exception. But that's actually not the case. In this world, every single life, every living being, their existence has inherent value and is extremely, extremely precious. If we, for the sake of our own truly precious wealth, destroy the lives of countless innocent beings and trample on the precious lives of many beings, then in this life or the next, we will face retribution. In a certain sense, we human beings are indeed extremely brutal and truly terrifying creatures. A journalist once made a profound observation, stating that we humans are even scarier than cheetahs. He specifically noted that on the vast and diverse African continent, it's remarkably common to witness cheetahs and antelopes peacefully sitting together side by side, sometimes just a few meters apart, and they often coexist peacefully. So what exactly does this mean for us? According to his analysis, cheetahs, generally speaking, only eat these antelopes when they are truly hungry. But once it is completely full, it often peacefully stays with them and will not consume them. But we humans, as cheetahs, are actually even fiercer than cheetahs in the wild indeed. Why is that? When humans see these antelopes, they will definitely kill them. And after killing them, they then proceed to eat them themselves. Even after consuming them, that's still not quite enough. There are still other acts of slaughter that occur. After the slaughter, the meat is meticulously made into dried antelope, specifically sun-dried, and then it's directly sold to other buyers. At the same time, he also deliberately plans to find many fierce hunting dogs, properly raise these hunting dogs to effectively capture the fast cheetahs. So what really are humans? They are even more ruthless than cheetahs. Cheetahs, generally speaking, we can also see, they only eat for themselves. Other than that, they do not store or trade any personal data. But we humans rely on a large number of machines. We can also quite clearly see, whether it's often in Chongqing or on the Yangtze River, including those by the seaside, how many machines do we actually use, and how many fish do we unfortunately kill? Many fish in the vast ocean are currently being caught, and this is a significant concern. And after they're caught, we eat what we can, and if we can't eat them all, we still unfortunately slaughter them in various cruel and often inhumane ways. So what about many people nowadays? They regrettably have absolutely no concept of protecting animals, no real idea of animal conservation at all, and seem completely unaware of the vital importance of preserving wildlife. If something is indeed flying in the sky, if it possesses wings and is actively flying, we instinctively think we should try to catch it and wonder if we can eat it. Is it edible? Then for those animals crawling on the ground, as soon as we see an animal, we immediately want to eat it. And for those creatures swimming in the sea or in the water, we want to eat all aquatic creatures too. So sometimes humans really are quite terrifying. In a certain sense, we are even more cruel and ferociously dominant than the fiercest and most predatory beasts, demonstrating a truly formidable and often ruthless capacity. You could certainly say that, so in these important respects, we still need to profoundly respect the life that every living being possesses. If we don't show respect, and keep destroying their freedom and their right to live, then whether it's on an individual level or as a collective karma of humanity, it will eventually come to fruition at some point. This is something that both companies and also ordinary people should deeply reflect upon. And another important thing is we should always have a profound sense of reverence. Nowadays, many companies, in the name of development, often destroy traditional cultures that have been passed down, including ancient temples and significant buildings. All of these structures are currently being completely destroyed. Actually, this is quite truly unreasonable. There's also a saying among the people that 3 feet above your head, there are indeed spirits present. And in this very world of ours, here and now, for example, if we trample on temples and destroy them, then at a certain point, we ourselves, either naturally or directly or indirectly, will also suffer various kinds of retribution. And this retribution is not something I'm predicting here. This is also something we can see in the retribution that happens in this very life. Many examples of which are quite apparent. Therefore, I think as businesses, when we meticulously create various products or when we diligently run and manage our companies, it is essential to consider the broader implications and long-term sustainability of our endeavors. What should we take into consideration? We should carefully consider the ultimate bottom line for the benefit of all of humanity. The bottom line of the law, the bottom line of nature, as well as the bottom line of morality, and many other additional rules. These are also truly very important indeed. Nowadays, for most of us, as long as we don't break the law, this is truly a form of Western thinking. So what exactly is Western thinking? As long as it's within the boundaries allowed by law, we can do anything. This is Western culture, especially many of Adam Smith's economic theories. As long as you're making money yourself and not being punished by the law, it's all acceptable. Because in many Western countries, especially some countries that don't have much culture, of course, there's another way of thinking in the West. Although they believe in Christianity, but when it comes to Christianity, some of its behavioral rules aren't completely as thorough as those in the Eastern philosophies. Christianity is rather mysterious in concept. It firmly says there is a God, but this God in relation to our entire natural world. How exactly does he truly connect with it? Or how he truly relates to our modern secular world and society? A lot of things are hard to comprehend. But in our traditional culture, the moral rules are actually described in great detail. So in such situations, whether you're running a business, being a person, or doing things, at this particular point in time in the past, each and every one of us had our own profound sense of reverence and our own distinct moral standards. But now, a great many things have unfortunately become significantly westernized. After this extensive westernization, many complex Western scientific concepts, we actually don't fully understand them either, even if we do understand them. In fact, some Western science is not truly scientific. We cannot just simply say, oh, Western science is indeed so great, and treat everything as science. But even within the realm of science, there are some things that aren't really quite so good, because science in reality is all about hypotheses. I've also met many scientists. When you ask them specific questions, on every single issue, they won't give a final conclusion. They're still exploring, still observing. It's always like this. So if we become completely obsessed with Western science, that's actually not reasonable either. Even if you are obsessed with Western science, in fact, among a significant majority of Western scientists, it is widely observed that basically 80 to 90% of them hold and maintain their own personal beliefs and convictions. We all know that in generally any Western university setting, the traditional school of arts and the classical divinity school are completely inseparable. They are all more or less deeply influenced by organized religion. In the Western world, basically, every single family is influenced by religion to some significant extent. So if we think Western science is completely atheistic, that it never talks about any deities at all, that's not the case. And we all know that in virtually any Western country, actually, including some of the top national leaders, there is still a profound sense of awe and reverence in their hearts. Whether it's God, the Lord, or the Buddha, they acknowledge a higher power. There are many differences. So if we just completely and entirely follow the Western approach and only learn a Western management model and nothing else, that's actually not right either. They certainly have their own unique way of doing things. So what exactly is it that we truly need? What we profoundly need is our very own distinct culture. So for the second question, concerning the future path and potential pathways for entrepreneurs, I'd like to explore. As for the future development path, I truly think it should certainly require combining a selfless, altruistic mindset with the comprehensive revival of our traditional culture. If an entrepreneur wants to exist permanently in this complex world for a long time, there may actually need to be several essential factors at play. The first fundamental factor, I really think, is to have a completely dedicated approach to comprehensive research over the long term regarding oneself naturally, no matter which specific field or industry you are currently in as an entrepreneur. It's not just something truly temporary, it is indeed a lasting commitment. Thank you very much. Look, he dresses in a very cultured and refined way. His attire consistently reflects a taste and an impeccable sense of style. Very good, really. It is truly very good and quite impressive. Sometimes I deeply ponder and reflect upon our ancient civilization's rich and enduring culture. Now, it's neither present in our clothing nor in our language today. If our very own genes also happen to completely lack any sense of fear and morality, then what? If these essential items are also missing, then what exactly is it, I ask you, that we often say is our cultural heritage of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism, which have deeply shaped our society, or our 5,000 years of cultural heritage, or perhaps 8,000, 7,000 years. Many countries in Asia have different versions of this. But as for true culture, nowadays there's basically virtually nothing left in our modern textbooks. Most of them are just Western animal stories. When I closely look at the textbooks we previously used to study, they're a bit different from what many kids are learning now. Plus, a lot of the current courses are based on so-called Western management studies. and so-called Western economics, while our own perspectives and unique viewpoints are relatively scarce. This is a significant challenge. So, when I talk about possible future paths, the first is that we must engage in dedicated research. Maybe when we run a business, in the process, there might be all kinds of various bottlenecks and obstacles you encounter. Some entrepreneurs often say, it looks like everything is going great for me, but in reality, my emotions are constantly rising and falling. Every day I feel anxious, worried about gains and losses, and have a sense of insecurity. Many people feel this way too. This is also a normal phenomenon. Nothing in our lives is truly permanent, including our own physical bodies, which are constantly changing, and even our limited lifespan. There is a profound saying in Buddhism which speaks to this very truth. No one knows if they will die tomorrow. No one can be sure if they will see the sunlight tomorrow. None of us can be 100% certain. We think we definitely won't die. But if you actually ask for a reason, there truly and indeed isn't one. So when we practice impermanence in Buddhism, we pay special attention to this aspect. Therefore, whether you are diligently running a successful business or carefully building a strong and lasting culture, it is crucial that you consistently conduct thorough long-term research. In today's world, many individuals are often eager for quick and immediate success. They want to make a substantial amount of money, a significant fortune in a remarkably short period of time, and quite apart from that, they do not even consider engaging in more thorough and detailed research. For example, when looking abroad, even a relatively small restaurant, regardless of its size or location, can have a history of several hundred years. There are many such examples. You all have probably encountered many as well. But nowadays, whether it's corporate culture or anything else, many of them have only existed for a short time. If there is no long-term effort, then any short-lived success will quickly and inevitably disappear. So I truly think it's absolutely worth it to learn from the kind of extensive long-term research some dedicated people in Europe and America diligently do. This is very important. If in a certain field you truly spend a very significant amount of time in conducting thorough and in-depth research, and then study it thoroughly and comprehensively, as that is undeniably the most important and truly crucial thing. I think that's one significant and fundamental aspect. The second equally vital and pressing aspect is the profound need for a robust revival of traditional culture. Why do I say this? Some people think this is just about classical studies and has nothing to do with our businesses. They think as long as our business makes money, that's enough. Some people might think this way, but that's actually not the case at all. Just like I mentioned earlier, our culture has basically been lost now, unfortunately. But this is also true for businesses. If you don't have your own cultural foundation, it's very difficult to promote yourself relying solely on Western culture. Even if you don't consider it a responsibility to society as a whole, just thinking about your own future. If you only rely on Western management theories, Western countries have this management theory and that management theory. I've seen a lot, whether it's I've also visited business schools this time, Chongqing Graduate School of Business or China-Europe International Business School, Tsinghua, Peking University, Renmin University, and business schools. The learning environment is excellent. Western management theories are especially good. They are very systematic. This is something we didn't have before. Now, learning them here is very beneficial, but Western management theories really lack a human touch in management. Their systems are very rigid and mechanical. If there's a fine, then there's absolutely a fine. It seems like many people truly lack compassion, as we would often say. It's especially rigid and unyielding. Things are done exactly by the book. People are treated entirely like machines. Take the 996 work schedule, for example, and many similar practices nowadays, all aimed at increasing overall operational efficiency and productivity. However, if you consistently treat your employees like mere robots in the long run, it's not really a reasonable or sustainable approach. So I think we need both Western management theories and Eastern humanistic studies. Management should always be deeply and truly human-centered. If management is human-centered, then we ourselves should also uphold certain traditions in how we conduct ourselves and our work. For example, in the Analects, it truly says, "The benevolent indeed love others." A person of virtue loves everyone without exception, whether it's their own family, their friends, or their employees. They treat everyone as they would their own beloved parents, with genuine compassion and profound understanding. Nowadays in business, people talk about the need for IQ and EQ. But what's even more important? It's love quotient. If you possess love quotient, people will naturally have a favorable impression of you. And when it comes to your products, they will also naturally be interested. So in this crucial regard, I firmly believe we must absolutely not just passively follow and simply imitate Western management methods, as that's obviously insufficient. We should really have our own distinctive approach. Like the saying, each region nurtures its own people. Our own deeply rooted culture, which has steadily developed and evolved over many thousands of years, is exceptionally well suited and perfectly aligned with the inherent characteristics and deepest sentiments of our people's hearts, as our hearts naturally adapt and evolve, and we meticulously introduce and effectively implement advanced Western management practices. If we successfully combine these two crucial elements, I am confident that our enterprises will discover a clear and sustainable way forward, leading to a truly prosperous and exceptionally promising future. Actually, generally speaking, we frequently talk about Dao and Shu. Shu mainly refers to concrete techniques or professional skills. We often talk about certain academic theories, often discussing theoretical theories, practical methods, and management systems. As for Dao, however, the concept of Dao, systems are not like that. There are aspects that our eyes can't see and our hands can't touch. It follows a certain pattern. Confucianism also possesses its own profound Tao. Just as the ancient saying goes, a true gentleman loves wealth, but always acquires it in the right and proper way. This so-called Tao truly means that whatever you do, you need to have a truly sincere heart and genuine intention. You need to have a heart of gratitude and a sense of thankfulness. Or in other words, a profound sense of deep respect for all things existing under heaven. There is a fundamental kind of inherent morality that truly comes from within. If you only focus on mere technique and completely ignore the essential Tao, in fact, people in the East look down on that. Maybe it's the same with the way we speak. Nowadays, many people only focus on the techniques of speaking. People say, oh, this person is really eloquent, truly impressive. He's very good at attracting others. But even if someone is extremely eloquent, if their heart is truly malicious, even though they are highly skilled with persuasive words over a long time, after interacting with them for a long period, if they have only technique but no Tao, this approach won't last long. Right now, many of us rely on certain methods to make money quickly, to make a lot of money in a short time. That has become our goal. But actually, this isn't something that will last long. In the short term, it may seem like you can't make money. But what I do brings great value to society as a whole. It is well recognized by society. Whether it's the products we make or the things we do, they are beneficial to everyone. If that's the case, then as we continue to live in this very environment, our inherent value will naturally and truly exist. So the difference between Tao and technique is something that many people nowadays may not really pay much attention to or even truly appreciate, especially those individuals who are highly skilled in their technique. They really cannot stand the profound and often misunderstood Tao. In the past, Zhuangzi's Free and Easy Wandering talked about this. The sparrow really couldn't stand seeing the great ping bird soaring in the sky, because the great ping doesn't need to exert itself like the sparrow does, flapping its little wings with so much effort. It can fly steadily and gracefully in the vast open sky, soaring with effortless ease. And as for those who follow the Tao, they have their own set of rules. They're not like people nowadays who are eager to make quick money or get rich fast. It's not like that. He has what we generally call a deep sense of cause and effect. Actually, this is very important fundamentally. Now, considering Bhutan, what kind of special country is Bhutan really? I'll finish this very quickly since our time. Maybe it's fine, though. Everyone should be able to understand clearly as well. I truly think when it comes to the profound question of Tao, it is deeply related to our entire culture. If we have culture, then everything becomes much easier. Back when Napoleon ruled over Russia, overnight, their cities were all burned down. But because their culture at the time remained intact, Russia indeed fundamentally remained Russia. Take the Jewish people, for example. They wandered outside their homeland for over 1,000 years. But these Jewish people are remarkable. None of them gave up their culture. Later, when they established their own country, their nation was still the same as before. So if we look at the entire world, it's the same everywhere. For example, Sikkim and Nepal, in the not-so-distant past, were sovereign nations with a remarkably long and profound history, and they possessed a truly brilliant and rich cultural heritage that spanned many centuries. But later on, I think it was around 1975, the former kingdom of Sikkim was formally annexed by India. After being annexed, Sikkim now has no culture of its own left. Their culture was not entirely preserved. These are two very unfortunate countries at the foot of the Himalayas. One is Nepal. As for Nepal, Later on, their cultural preservation was especially poor. Their national leadership, sometimes it was a monarchy, sometimes it was something else entirely, and every single year it was like this. Even now, it's still precisely the very same. When I went there before, it was also very chaotic at that time. They don't focus on economic development at all, nor do they engage in cultural research. They're just selfish. The biggest flaw in people is selfishness. And in the end, even now, among all the countries in the world, maybe some of you have passed through Nepal when traveling to India. If you've been to Nepal, you know very well, actually, they do have wealth, and quite a lot of it, including tourism and many other resources. They have them. But their government is very selfish. As a direct result, things are still just as bad right now, unfortunately. Their culture has basically disappeared, and there's constant conflict. By comparison, the serene kingdom of Bhutan, nestled near the majestic Himalayas. As for the kingdom of Bhutan, why is it that in recent years it ranks among the highest in the world in terms of happiness index, right at the top? What is the reason for this? The Bhutanese royal family themselves have said this too. They say there are several compelling reasons why their happiness index is so remarkably high. The very first reason is they diligently protect the ecological environment. The second crucial aspect is objective and fair economic development, ensuring sustainable growth for all. That's the second reason. As for the third reason, they protect their cultural heritage. Fourth, they have a very benevolent government. Because of this, Bhutan has also done an excellent job of preserving its culture. Although their GDP isn't very high, and the whole environment is mostly mountainous, with towering peaks and rugged terrain, the main reason that people there are so really happy is they have faith. And maybe some of you have been there. When you arrive in Bhutan, you'll notice that people aren't criticizing each other, or saying the government is bad, or this or that is bad. It's not like that. They say, our king is great, our faith is strong. It seems like everyone's life is especially simple. But their hearts seem to be filled with altruism, a sense of contentment, and a sense of pride. So, sometimes as we live in this complex world, it's true that not everything is really about money. Even if you have plenty of money, are you truly happy deep inside? It's honestly hard to say. And if you lack money, does that mean you're happy? Not necessarily. In a certain sense, money is indeed necessary. But if you have too much, it becomes a burden. Generally, people need a moderate amount. If you don't have any at all, that's not good either. But if you have too much, and if you don't share these valuable resources with others, it truly becomes a significant burden and a personal responsibility for yourself. If I can effectively allocate and share these resources well with those around me, even if my business can genuinely last for 10 or even 20 years, if it truly lasts for 10 or even 20 years, and relies on this business so that 10 or even 20 people can have their fundamental basic needs met, then in this particular way, your inherent value not only truly exists when you personally possess it yourself, but even when you no longer physically possess it, your profound responsibility to the broader society has already been completely and truly fulfilled. So I truly believe that we as entrepreneurs, and indeed everyone present here today, should consider, I believe many of you are truly blessed. And I also hope that everyone will continue to be blessed for a long time. To have lasting blessings, you need to accumulate more merit. What does it mean to accumulate more merit? It means you should have a kind heart and try to nurture good causes and conditions in your heart as much as possible. This is very important. You should also do good deeds. Yesterday, some of our business owners indeed said they are planning to set up dedicated places for prayer within their companies. I think that's very good and highly commendable. Many highly successful individuals in the Western world have designated prayer rooms or quiet meditation rooms in their companies. Some even have meditation rooms. In this way, whether it's for dedicated employees or other individuals, many people sometimes find it a remarkably convenient and effective way to relieve their accumulated stress mentally. In fact, providing such a beneficial outlet for mental well-being might prove to be even more profoundly valuable and impactful than simply granting them a modest daily pay raise or setting too many strict and unnecessary rules for them. Sometimes, as I just mentioned, so why exactly do we truly need human-centered management in today's complex world? This is extremely important. Having a truly caring heart for everyone, always. If we have a heart full of care, perhaps for each and every one of us, whether for ourselves personally or for the entire company as a whole, there will be a much deeper and more profound emotional connection. With such an effective and comprehensive platform in place, the power of people's hearts is truly immense. At this point, company management will naturally improve as well. So when it comes to management, We have management from the heart and management by rules. The most important is management from the heart. Perhaps this will make our management even better. And its positive impact on society will also be continuous and unending, benefiting many for a long time. Thank you very much for your kind attention. That concludes my sharing for today. Thank you all for being here.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Khenpo Sodargye, for your truly wonderful and insightful speech. It made this hour pass by in the blink of an eye. We are left wanting more, but we have gained so much. So once again, let us give a warm round of applause to Khenpo Sodargye. Thank you.